Ascension. A sensationscape, an experience of food-like sensations or colours moving through the conscious dream that are moved from the present moment, or the thoughtscape, or the emotionscape, which is all interconnected, or the physical scape. And if that's your environment from your earliest youth, and then as you go through the stages of perspective and circumstantial limitations and preferences, the movement of all of that, you are then already thrown with negative energy, either that's some that you've initiated or some that has not, that has been initiated by somebody else, and it can be of varying degrees. And then positive energy, which I initiated or someone else initiated, of varying degrees. And you get into this sort of formulaic limitation of energy, of colour, moving this sensationscape. And this is while you're, in the earliest of days, you're figuring out how to think, like what it means to actually think, like what is that, what is thinking, how do I think, what is, there's probably some 3 or 4 letter word structure for that, the abstract symbolic movement of thought, emotion, the physical, or in other words the mindscape, the physical scape, the emotionscape. And then the sensationscape. They're all interconnected. And that's how I'm observing it, and I'm getting like positive and negative energy, and then I'm starting to enjoy some of the negative, and I'm enjoying the positive, but not too negative, but a lot positive, but not too much. And so I'm like a hybrid. And I may or may not have said that before in previous videos about this whole concept of a hybrid type of person. And during and flowing through that, you're struggling because other people are not seeing the world in that way. They might enjoy a bit of, I don't know, chocolate or a tea or something, and that's their little sensation moment, even if they're experiencing sensations in that moment apparently. Or they might enjoy whatever they can get at that moment, but they're not fully invested in that. Some people aren't. However, there are people who are, more so. And this is what this video is about, really, and that is that I live around a society of normal people, give or take, and a family, a parental genetic family of normative people. And throughout my entire life, it never ever occurred to me the significance of being non-normative or being not normal, and what that would imply when it was contextualized to relationships, friendships, connectionships, situationships, acquaintances, momentary people. I'm living this non-normative life with this sensation universe, trying to connect patterns together because I enjoyed this movement of doing these things that were people would be opposing towards. Like they would say, oh, there is no way to figure out the personality types of everybody, and yet I did. I can just say it right now, I don't really care. There's people who are all about the abstraction within, right? Those are the abstract symbolic movement people within, and then there's the abstract symbolic movement people who are between, right? Then you have the doers, the maintainers, the adapters, the orderers, right? That's 6, 7, no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What have I missed? Doers, maintainers, orderers, oh, optimizers and individualists. I think that was 8. So, and that's the abstract symbolic movement. That is everything. That's its limitation. It can only adapt. It can only do. It can only optimize. It can only be the abstract symbolic movement within or the abstract symbolic movement between. It can only order, maintain, and so on. You know, and I just think it's so funny. I always imagine sometimes myself as the that guy in Around the World, the Pierce Brosnan actor, playing the Around the World in Phileas Fogg, and at the end he opens the door and he goes, anyone for a game of whisk or something like that? But he had actually gone around the world in 80 days within the time frame. Do you see what I mean? And I always, I think that's just, you know, it's just like, there you go, you know, like I did all the things that people said were so difficult, like everything's an abstract symbolic movement. I mean, that's it. There you go, folks. That's the end. That's the finished piece. You can refine that as much as you want, but that's the end piece. I figured out the limitations of it. Those 8 things, they can be internal or external. There you go. That's its limitations. To me, I see this as a disguise, as a sort of an emulation of what life could be, but never will. You know, this is just this. You know, what. You know, all of it's a lie to me. Like, you know what I mean? I really do feel like we are a actual matrix. Like us, we are externally and internally the matrix that everyone keeps talking about. You know, we are actually it. And we just don't, we're just disguised. Our brains are just not built for not very well built for those kind of conclusions about how things are. But that's kind of like one of the things. But you know, beyond that, it became clear that I was maybe I should split this video up, I don't know. I'll keep going for a little bit, but until I get to 16 minutes, and then I'm going to cut the video, I think. And then I'll do another video or something if I need to. But anyways, so I'm in this sensationscape. I'm slowly but surely getting to the conclusions that I have to today, but in a different way. Perhaps I'll talk about that in another video or something. It's just pan matching, but it was like in an earlier, very primitive stage, and then it just got more and more and more and more, you know, whatever. But what wasn't pan matching was that what this, the pleasures of this sensationscape, how significant they were in defining my preferences and my preferred way of communication. It wasn't until the film Secretary, right, with I forget the names of it, I'll put it on the screen anyways, but these people, these characters in there, and particularly the female one, because she's an internal adapter, and I'm an external adapter type of person, which is why I'm probably more of a hybrid in life. Well, there's a lot more reasons, but and when I saw the way that she was interacting with that, with the other character, it just, I was tearing up, I was feeling so emotional, and because I realized that was me, in a sense, that was me wanting to be, not me entirely. There was something she was doing that I probably wouldn't have done. Like, I wouldn't have self-harmed by cutting myself with a freaking wooden ritual artifact. I may not have been as edgy as she was, but I was definitely that to some extent, to a significant level. Do you know what I mean? It's very light things that I would say was not something I would do, and that could be because of my own circumstantial limitations. That may not be because of my external adaptive personality. And there's a part of me that maybe thinks, well, in a certain situation I might, so it's kind of like yes and no kind of thing, circumstantial sort of thing, which might sound a bit contradictory, but I'm a passionate contradictioner, so get used to that. And so I'm watching this film, and I'm seeing this guy just slapping her in different ways, and they're having this sensual social experience, and I'm just sitting there going, that's what I want. That's what the kind of, that kinky sensualism, that's me, forever, and that just kind of took me, I just kind of was like, whoa, and just went through my whole entire life, and still trying to kind of put that together, because it's like, well, what? So I mean, in my eyes, I was probably a kinky sensualist in like early school, and it was in its very early stages, and it just gradually got more and more covered up, I think. And there was a point where I even was like, oh, I'm not that big on pain, and now I'm thinking that's not necessarily true to the fullest. I wouldn't want to fully feel pain to the extent of hurting myself, but there are areas of pain that I do enjoy, which sounds a bit crazy, but there is a pleasurable field, right, where pain can be pleasurable and not harmful to the extent of losing a limb or something, or being a truly fucking traumatized for life or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So it was like that. It was like, wow, bam, oh my gosh, now I understand. And that's it. So now I'm trying to find places where I can go that is non-normative, that's not where normal people are, where the kinky sensualists, or at least the kinkier people are, and the people who are not normal and live hybrid lives, or varied layered lives, and introspective, and kind of all this kind of stuff, because that's my people. No wonder. And the funny thing is, some of my most longest connections with people, I have a feeling they were kinky people, but in the normal world. And specifically one of them, they may, if they're watching this, they may know who they are, but For the context, I've been single. I usually say, oh, I've been single my entire life, but it's more like I've obviously had interactions with other people which have been more emotionally amp, but not like super like fucking what like, you know, proper thing. Also, something else I wanted to add before I end this video is I also have a filmic style of communicating, which is why I have this verbosity, this metaphorical or this sort of sensual approach to communication, because that's me by my nature. You know, if I'm sitting in a caf and I feel comfortable enough, I'm going to be sort of like almost act like natural performer, like, you know, like, what? Hello? What do you want? You know, that's me. Not this is like my sort of easygoing self or something. You know what I mean? Like, and I know I should stop the video here, but I just want to also say, you know, maybe I'll make another video and just make it after this one. But so that's sort of one of my great revelations of recent contemporary periods, and yeah, I'm a kinky sensualist. Yeah.